Hello everyone, it's Truds here and today we are bringing you another Destiny 2 video. Well, what do we have for you today? We are back to a bit of the old weapon review and guide, and if you are any kind of serious about playing PvP and specifically Trials, you might want to listen up to this one. This past week, unless you've had your head in the sand, there's been a lot of talk about auto rifles. One that is particularly ruined PvP single-handedly and another that is near on unfarmable despite its apparent popular features. We can't deny it, whichever way we look at it, auto rifles are extremely strong right now in the current meta, especially the 600 RPM archetype, and they are here to stay as they are until at least the end of the season, which may even be extended due to the current real world situation with the good people at Bungie currently working from home. So given that, you might as well make the most out of it and get to farming for some great roles that are going to help you in this current sandbox. This one though, to me, is quite the diamond in the rough. It's literally been hiding in plain sight. Well, not quite in plain sight, actually a somewhat murky and disturbing coloured lectern, but you get the drift. Arc Logic, the 600 RPM adaptive frame auto rifle, is one you might want to take a second glance at. This deceptively odd looking AR is obtainable from the Lectern of Enchantment located next to Eris Morn in the Sanctuary on the Moon. We will get to the roles you might want to consider later on, but first, to farm for this auto rifle it is pretty much as easy as it gets right now compared to some of the other grinds in the game. If you played anything through Shadowkeep, it's likely that you have already come across the method to unlock it, as it's one of the first essences you get during the main campaign. However, for those watching this and are unsure about the steps, or if you simply want a little refresh, here's a quick walkthrough of how to obtain it and the best farm method to progress the technical side of the essence. What you need is the Essence of Failure. This can be picked up from the Lectern of Enchantment vendor costing 1 Phantasmal Core. These cores are random chance drops or can be purchased for 20 Phantasmal Fragments. Additionally, you can purchase 1 Phantasmal Fragment for 25 Helium. Fortunately, throughout this farm method you are likely to build up a healthy amount of fragments and even cores. But if you don't have any, I recommend you take a visit to Sorrow's Harbour or run some nightmare hunts to obtain some. So if you haven't already and it's the first time obtaining the essence, you will need to collect a special weapon part specific to this bounty. The Captive Cord is located in the Lunar Battlegrounds on one of the outbuildings you use during the opening mission of Shadowkeep. Once you have found the cord, which you need to do once per character, you won't need to go find it again for each separate essence, so it's simply a case of completing the next 2 parts every time you do this essence. First up, you simply need 50 auto rifle kills whilst on the moon, which is easy peasy. And finally, you need to complete patrols, public events and lost sectors on the moon. Fortunately, this last part is just as straightforward as long as you know where to go. Patrols offer around 8% per completion. However, if you combine these with either the Altar of Sorrow public event in Sorrow's Harbour or the current seasonal Seraph Towers event in the Anchor of Light, you will complete this in 1 if not 2 runs depending on the RNG of which patrols spawn in the area. Obviously, you want to look out for the kill total or collect patrols, as these are the least time consuming and keep you in the current area as you complete the public events. The whole process should take about 10 to 20 minutes depending on your speed, and then all you need to do is head back to the lectern to collect your reward. Make sure that you have space in your inventory slot, otherwise you won't be able to collect it. So that's the farm out of the way. So why might you even want to farm for this weapon in the first place? Well, like I said, auto rifles are the flavour of the month. If you haven't been gunned down by Hardlight, then you're doing it all wrong. The recent buff at the start of the season put them pretty much at the top of the food chain. But given the impending nerf to Hardlight, you're going to want some other options too. Also, if you want to run other exotics in your kinetic or power slot like Chaperone, Bastion or the Wardcliff, you might need a good well-rounded AR to help compete in the current meta. Currently there's 4 competitive ARs in the 600 RPM category, all of which come with top tier rolls. Galliard, the Forge Legendary Solar Auto, which comes with great mid-range scope options but is insanely rare as an end of activity reward drop with no true target farming option. There's also Gnawing Hunger, the Reckoning Legendary Void Auto Rifle. Again, it comes with a good set of perks and is quite the laser beam, but again it has no true target farm outside of the Reckoning and Gambit Prime. Finally, you've got the newly added Trials Auto Rifle, the Summoner. This one has a lot going for it, but given that it's tied to tiered rewards in Trials, the RNG of a drop through the token grind in amongst playing the most competitive PvP mode in the game makes this one another tough one to obtain. So that's where the Arc logic comes in. It's easily farmable and comes with some of the best perk sets in the game for any auto rifle. Now you're probably remembering that this weapon was trash back in Shadowkeep, and you're not wrong. It had horrible muzzle flash making it nearly unusable, but Bungie fixed that issue by just straight up removing it, and so now it comes to us in an excellent position. First up, it's an adaptive frame auto, so that means that it's easy to use due to its excellent handling, which is intrinsic to this archetype. It is also very sturdy, which is strange to come to terms with, as generally you'll want to increase stability on auto rifles to make them more manageable the longer you fire them. But increasing the stability through its barrel and magazine options won't generally improve the feeling of this weapon in my opinion. That's why you will want to lean into the range options that increase its damage fall off distance. This also increases the stickiness and bullet magnetism of the weapon. Full bore and accurized rounds are the go-to ones here to maximise range with little penalty to any of the other stats. I definitely try and stay away from steady rounds as this one does impact the range somewhat too. Another reason you'll want to increase the range is because Arc logic comes with a fixed scope, so the only option to extend its zoom magnification is with a rangefinder roll if that's what you prefer. Now one of the major advantages of this weapon is that it can roll with the perk Overflow. This perk will overflow your magazine when you pick up either special or heavy ammo, and this will buff your magazine to over 80 rounds without having to reload, and this can be enhanced even further with extended mag, appended mag or tactical mag. You can even put on a backup mag mod to bump this one up even higher. The only other auto rifle that can roll this perk in this archetype is the Summoner, but like we said earlier, it's difficult to farm for a specific role. Now there's 3 perks that pair very nicely with Overflow: Triple Tap, Demolitionist and Rampage. All of these are great options for PvE, but if you're going into PvP to take advantage of Overflow, you're going to want to pair it with Rampage. Having 80 plus rounds in addition to Rampage stacking with each kill, depleting the need to reload is pretty much as good as it gets, as some reloads will massively hamper the uptime of Rampage even with a Rampage spec mod. Moving target and tap the trigger are other possible roles, but with the adaptive archetype somewhat negating the stability stat, I'd argue that tap the trigger is not a go-to perk role on the Arc logic. As for mods, there are a few here that we have discussed above and it's personal preference, but counterbalance stock to bring up the recoil stat to a nice level is also good, as well as targeting adjuster to add further stickiness to your aim. As you can see from the gameplay in the back, this weapon is suited to all activities in the game. I managed to grab an Overflow Rampage model with full bore and flared magwell, which isn't optimal but isn't shabby either considering full bore is fixing most of the base stat issues of this weapon. I definitely found Overflow to be more effective to managing PvP due to special ammo bricks being readily available around the maps, whereas in PvE I was constantly having to waste special ammo in order to get the perk to activate, as it doesn't work if your special and heavy ammo is at capacity. This auto rifle might not be to everyone's taste, but given the length and low difficulty of the grind to obtain one, it's definitely worth a shot, especially given the meta of the game right now. Also, don't forget to use the artifact mods specific to auto rifles right now, which will run until the end of the season. I do hope that you found this weapon guide and review helpful. I try not to go into depth with the minute details, but to give you an overview on what works well and why, and how I found the weapon to use. I was definitely surprised by how effective it was, especially as I hadn't used it in some time, but I'm going to keep hold of it for now and give it a go in trials too. If you did enjoy this video or found it informative, a rating down below would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you want more D2 content, I'm trying to build a positive community here on the channel, so please feel free to subscribe to stay up to date going forwards. As always, I greatly appreciate the support on the channel recently, so let's keep the conversation going in the comments down below, and thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.